Mark it. Common mark.
I'm doing a film about my nightmares as I'm dreaming them. In order for the movie to continue, it was dependent on me having more nightmares. Well, fortunately, I did.
I'm a little frightened by what Wes may have tapped into. I frankly felt that it was over when we did the final nightmare.
In a town where movies go over schedule and directors go over budget, something far more evil is out of control.
The world of horror films suffered its own terror today as two of Hollywood's best-known special effects technicians were found dead.
Part of the theme of the movie is becoming like part of the making of the movie.
Can you come with me in my dreams?
I think that only happens in the movies.
It happens when the story dies. The evil is set free. Now that the films have ended, the genie's out of the bottle. That's what the nightmares are telling me, and that's what I'm writing.
This is still a script we're talking about, right, Wes?
He's decided to cross over out of films into our reality. The only way to stop him is to make another movie.
Oh, my God.
The bad man's getting awful close.
You're gonna have to make a choice.
What kind of choice?
Whether or not you're willing to play Nancy one last time.
Cut the effect!
Isn't there somebody who can stop him?
That person's you.
Why me?
But it was you that gave Nancy her strength.
Nancy. Almost there.
Where's my son?
Welcome to Slash, a horror movie podcast. In Season 2 of Slash, we will be covering the films of the A Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Starting with the 1984 Wes Craven classic, and ending with its remake from 2010. Slash is available everywhere podcasts can be found. You can follow Slash on Twitter at /horror. And you can find every episode of Slash at fansnotexperts.com/slash. Enjoy the show. Remember that it's fun to be scared. And whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
Greetings, horror fans. Happy 2025, and welcome back to Slash. It's been a while since you've last heard from me, and I have no one to blame but myself. Just kind of working on other things and time getting away from me, but I'm finally back. I'm finally here to talk about the final, I was going to say the final Robert Englund Nightmare on Elm Street movie, but not really. I mean, there's one more Robert Englund movie. It's not a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, so it's not the last Freddy Krueger movie. It's not the last Robert Englund Freddy Krueger movie, but it is the last Nightmare movie. Oh, Even though the last one was Final Nightmare, and this is New Nightmare. As you can see, there's reasons why I take forever to get these things done. I'm not the most well-prepared podcaster. I really wanted this podcast to be something where I watch a movie and I immediately talk about it. And this kind of turned into something where I was putting work into it and putting research into it and taking copious amounts of notes. And it started turning into something bigger than I wanted it to be, or more involved than I hoped it would be. But then I was like, oh, I got to keep doing it. I don't got to keep doing it. I want to keep watching these movies. I want to keep talking about these movies. I want to get to season 3 eventually of Slash. But to do so, I still have to finish season 2. And to do that, I'm going to try to kind of turn these into more laid back, not going through beat by beat of the entire movie, even though I have the movie pulled up in front of me and there's a chance I might go beat by beat in it anyway. Who knows if I'm going to completely abandon my new philosophy or my old philosophy. It's been so long, I almost forget how I did it. So I'm just going to do what feels right to me. And wearing this glove feels right, even though this glove really doesn't appear in this movie. Is there a glove? There's definitely fingers with blades, and there is a glove. I don't know. Here's the thing. I saw this movie yesterday for the first time in probably 30 years. I know that I went to see this in the theater with my brother. I'm almost positive I went to see this in the theater with my brother. I texted him to double check it, but I had to have. Now, it came out on October 14th, 1994. So I was already in college at this point. I was away at college, but I came home on weekends a lot, almost every weekend. So I must have said sorry to my girlfriend, now wife, in the other room. Sorry, I can't spend time with you because I'm going to see Wes Craven's New Nightmare with my brother. And I did. And I don't think I've seen it since then. And I remember being really excited for this movie, then seeing this movie and being a little underwhelmed. And it always kind of stuck with me that, oh, they tried something. And then I watched it yesterday. And as I'm kind of going through it, it's not a perfect movie. There are some things that are like, well, why would you do that? And why did that happen? And of course, there's some effects that look a little silly. Part of it is, the times and the best you could do at the time. But as I'm going through this, I'm thinking to myself, and I'm texting my brother and our friend, and I'm going, wait, is this movie kind of awesome? And my buddy Dave wrote, really his favorites were always the first one. He called it the Dawkins movie, part 3, and this one. And I'm starting to think he's onto something here, because I really enjoyed this movie. Flawed, yes. Perfect, no. There were some things I'm like, ooh, but what they were doing, it seems like, I don't think I knew the term meta then, or self-referential, but it seems like they were doing something that was very fresh, very new, kind of ingenious. And when I watch this, I'm thinking to myself, wait a second. The title of the movie is also the plot of the movie, and the plot of the movie is kind of explaining what all the movies were doing, right? Am I right? I want to get into this more specifically, but just to give you some of the facts, this movie, as I said, came out October 14th, 1994. And I'm trying something different, by the way. I'm not using my microphone that's right over here. I'm using a new microphone that's if you're watching this on video, it's a lav mic that I have plugged in wirelessly to my GoPro. And I want to see if using the video and the audio works better this way. This is a new way of trying things. And this is my first real recording using this setup. So hopefully it sounds okay. Hopefully it looks okay. I mean, my face is here, so it's the best you're going to get. So it came out October 14th, 1994. I was a freshman in college, Fitchburg State University, Fitchburg, Mass. I was in the film program at this time. I had changed over to interactive media at some point, but I was in the film program at this point. 112 minutes. This was the longest Freddy Krueger movie to date. I'm not sure if the remake or the Freddy v. Jason: Dawn of Justice was longer. On a budget of $8 million, it only gained back $19 million. Now, look, it doubled its budget. I don't know if that includes promotion. So it probably wasn't an exciting turnaround. There wasn't another one after this, really. And it was considered the lowest grossing of all the Nightmare films, which is disappointing considering it was probably the smartest out of all of them. It brought back Wes Craven. He wrote it, he directed, he co-starred in it. And of course, the cast is Robert Englund as Robert Englund, Heather Langenkamp as Heather Langenkamp, Miko Hughes as Dylan Langenkamp, Wes Craven as Wes Craven, John Saxon as John Saxon, and Freddy Krueger as Freddy Krueger. Yes, Freddy Krueger was billed as himself in this movie because Robert Englund was playing himself, Robert Englund. Really, the star of this movie is Heather Langenkamp. She came back for a third movie, of course. She's Nancy in the first movie. She's Nancy in the third movie, which they killed her off, right? And she's Nancy. Well, no, she's Heather here, but they want to bring Nancy back. So maybe Dave just likes the Heather Langenkamp movies because he's a huge Just the 10 of Us friend. I really don't know. This movie, as I said, it really didn't do gangbusters at the box office, but apparently it was sort of well received critically. It has a 77% score on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, I don't know if that is reviewers coming back after the fact, or if these are people at the time talking about it. It says here it was actually nominated for Best Film at the 10th Independent Spirit Awards. It's kind of crazy, but I remember it not really being that big of a hit, not really catching on. I feel like that was kind of why it was the end of the road. But it was the 10th anniversary of the original film. And I really look at this as kind of a love letter back to that movie, because it referred to specific moments in that movie. It replayed different things in that movie with the characters, with the actors of that movie. It was way smarter than I gave it credit for. Yeah, there was some silly stuff and some contrived stuff that you get out of horror movies. I didn't care. I thought this was so much fun. And out of every movie so far, this is the one that I've came out of feeling better about it. You know, I went in knowing that I was going to like Dream Warriors, and I feel like it held up, and it was definitely the most fun I'd had out of the sequels, because they just got, to me, worse, and worse. But this one, I really enjoyed, and I was like happy that I watched it, but annoyed that it took me so long to get back. It annoys me that I didn't watch it sooner, and I haven't watched this more. Maybe I will. So I know Wes Craven set out to deliberately make this more cerebral, because he thought the other ones are a little bit too cartoonish and not faithful to the original themes. And as I revisited all these movies, I have to agree with him 100%. Here's what I think the movie is about. Before I kind of go through the movie, and I shouldn't say here's what I think it's about. Wes kind of said it. And I was like, I don't think I ever realized that. There is this ancient evil that Wes dreamed about, that he thinks making the first Freddy movie, or sometimes with evil, telling stories about the evil contains it. And when you stop telling stories about the evil can escape and get back out there to the world and kill the innocents. So by making the Freddy movie, after having that dream about the evil, he helped contain it. This is what I think he's saying. And the sequels helped contain it. And that evil kind of took the form of this Freddy Krueger character that Wes created, because that's how he portrayed it in the films. And the evil kind of adapted to that, liked that, and took it. But not exactly. That's why when we see the evil come out into the real world, it doesn't look exactly like the Freddy that we saw in the movies. It's kind of the evil's version of Freddy. And when they stopped making this a movie, the evil's about to get out again. Wes Craven started having another nightmare, Wes Craven's new nightmare, and he realizes he needs to tell this story, that he's having this nightmare, to contain the evil. He wants Heather to come back to be Nancy one more time. And there's your title, New Nightmare. His new nightmare is why he's writing this movie, to contain the evil. And I also think the meta part of it is the movie we're seeing is the movie that he created to help contain the evil. It's about the movie containing the evil. The movie containing the movie that's about making a movie to contain the evil is the movie that is there to contain the evil, right? Because we see the script, and we see the script is actually of the movie that we're seeing. So that's obviously the movie they made. So I like to think that this happened in real life exactly this way, and this is the result, this movie that was made. Obviously, Heather Langenkamp, that's not her real husband, but her husband does do special effects. That's not her real son, but she did have a son who I read sadly passed away from, I think it said brain cancer, if I'm not correct, if I'm not mistaken, back in 2018, maybe something like that. That was like shocking. I didn't think of that. I didn't know that. So I wonder if, looking back on this movie, it makes her think of, her son. Even though this isn't her son, this is an actor. This is the kid from Pet Sematary, and I think he's the is Maratuma kid in Kindergarten Cop. He's one of the kids in Kindergarten Cop. I don't know if he's the main kid. It's been a long time since I've seen that movie, but it plays her son, and there's a lot of meta moments in it because Wes Craven plays Wes Craven. She gets called into New Line Cinema. New Line Cinema is the studio that Freddy built. When she gets to New Line Cinema, she's greeted by someone named Sarah Risher. She's like, "Sarah, how are you?" That's not an actress. That's a producer. That's Sarah Risher, an actual producer, one of the producers on the original Nightmare on Elm Street series. She goes into an office to meet a person. That's Robert Shea. Robert Shea is Bob Shea. He's had cameos in previous movies, but he's been the producer on all the Freddy movies. His sister's Lynn Shea from the Conjuring movies. His sister is Lynn Shea, the teacher in the original Nightmare on Elm Street. His sister is Lynn Shea, one of the nurses in this movie. So Robert Shea playing himself. Also, there was a producer named Marianne Madalena. I have it written down here. She played herself as well. And I think in the dream at the beginning, where Nancy has a dream about her husband working on the set and the glove going crazy, she's sitting next to a woman on the phone. I believe that's her. I think that's the only, because I looked up what she looked like, and that's the only time I could see her. Now, Marianne Madalena, she started out as Wes Craven's secretary, assistant, and went into production and was a production consultant on some show, a sitcom I've never heard of that Wes Craven produced with Jeffrey Jones. It looks awful. I saw the YouTube introduction of it. It looks silly. Then she got into producing herself. She worked with Wes on Shocker and other things, and kind of became Wes's producing partner. She went on to actually be the main producer on New Nightmare and produce all the Scream movies, including all the Scream movies still coming out, the new trilogy, the 4 Wes movies, the TV show. So she is working and continues to work in the world of Hollywood. The one person that I looked up randomly, I thought, because they said, "Oh, I'm going through the list of actors," and they show one woman, and I go, "Who's this?" It's a woman named Claudia Hero. She played the receptionist. She's like, "Do you have an appointment?" She kind of delivered her line terribly. That's because she's not really an actor. She only has 5 credits. I don't know how I went down this rabbit hole, but I'm kind of intrigued that I did, because I never would have guessed where it landed. She had 5 credits to her name: New Nightmare and 4 other movies: Jimmy Hollywood, Gone Fishing, With Honors, and Casino. All of those starring her one-time husband, Joe Pesci. But after being married to Joe Pesci, she was married to someone named Garrett Warren, who had an IMDb. So I clicked on his name and I go, "Oh, he's like a second unit director and stunt action coordinator. Oh, interesting. Oh, he has an eye patch. Oh, interesting. Oh, he doesn't have an eye patch in that photo. Oh, I wonder what happened." So I'm trying to watch the movie, but I'm going down rabbit holes. It has nothing to do with New Nightmare. It has something to do with this woman. It's just one of her husbands. Oh, he used to have an eye patch. Oh, he used to have 2 eyes. Now he has an eye patch. Why is that? Oh, because in 2000, a gunman hiding in his apartment shot him 4 times in the face and the upper body. He survived, but lost his eye. It turns out his ex-wife, Claudia Hero, paid someone to try to kill him. She pled no contest to 2 counts of attempted murder in 2000 of her ex-husband, Garrett Warren. Allegedly, along with her brother, she hired a hitman to kill Warren. But when Warren miraculously survived the attack, she hired another guy to finish the job. The second attack never took place. She was arrested in 2005. She pled no contest to 2 counts of attempted murder, principal firearm charges for attempted murder. And in April 2012, she was sentenced to 12 years and 4 months in prison. She served her sentence and was released early in 2019. Otherwise, she would have been released like this year. Has nothing to do with this movie, but the fact that I'm going down this rabbit hole of that woman in one moment in this movie is someone who tried to have her husband killed. This guy who's gone out to work in big Spielberg movies, working in stunts in big, huge movies, and Logan and all these other things, a second unit director and action coordinator, was almost killed by some woman who used to be married to Joe Pesci, who's in New Nightmare. I have no idea what this has to do with the rest of the movie, but I feel like I just had to talk about this salacious story. So I loved seeing all the cameos, not her. And I loved how Wes Craven kind of played a character in the movie, the character of Wes Craven. So this movie, it actually took place after, or it was taking place before some of the California earthquakes that were happening in 94. And after the fact that there was a big earthquake, they went around and shot some footage. So there's some footage in here you can tell is real earthquake, rubble and stuff. And that's because earthquake actually happened. So they filmed it around that time. So I thought that was kind of interesting because I was like, wow, that is a lot of, that's not really special effects. That looks like just real rubble. Where did they get that stuff? And it was just B footage that they shot for the movie. So the movie starts off with the creation of a glove, and it looks like a brand new glove. But we find out pretty quickly that they're making a movie about the movie, or this is the behind the scenes of them making a Freddy movie. Heather's there, her husband's there. He's like the special effects coordinator. Her son is there on the set for some reason. I don't know why you would bring a son on this set where they're chopping hands off. The glove goes crazy and kills two of the special effects guys. I think Nick's the husband, cuts him. She wakes up. It turns out it's a dream. She's starting to have dreams about this evil entity. We find out later Wes is starting to have dreams about this evil entity. And I believe Robert is even having dreams about this evil entity. Heather Langenkamp has a son who we come to find out, I don't know if he's being possessed or something with this entity, but it is trying to get to him. I don't know if it wants to take his body. There really was no explanation of why the kid was involved. But early on, we find out that the 2 special effects guys in the dream died. We find out later that it looked like the glove that the guy was working on in real life, the husband, actually escaped and went with him on a drive home. For some reason, he fell asleep at the wheel at 7:45 at night, and he died. So Heather Langenkamp's dealing with a dead husband, weird dreams, and at the same time, New Line wants her to make a new Freddy movie. And she goes to Wes, and Wes is like, I've been having dreams too. And that's when he explains kind of what's going on with the Freddy Krueger, with the dreams he's having about the evil. The evil. I like all the little Easter eggs too. Like this kid sometimes in red and green jerseys. The earthquake logo on the TV show looks like little Freddy gloves. The cracks in the wall look like Freddy cracks. It is just kind of neat little things that are being done. So she goes off to New Line. That's when she talks about working with on a new Freddy movie. She's not really into it. We learned that little Dylan has a nanny. That I was like, uh-oh. I saw a gift with this girl in it. She's not. I don't think it's going to end well for her. She ended up working on the Scream TV show, so I guess the producer liked her as well. So Nancy, actually, she went to a talk show first with a real guy that does real news reporting. And he's like, so what's the deal with Freddy? Why aren't you doing the Freddy movies anymore? She's like, oh, Freddy's dead. We're done doing that. And all these kids are in the car going, Freddy, Freddy. They love Freddy. They want him back. And let's bring out your old co-star, Robert Englund. He comes out in full Freddy gear. He's like, you're all my children. She's kind of freaked out. Like, she's ready to put this all behind her. Even when she meets with Bob Shea, she does not want to work on this movie. But then she starts seeing her son's now starting to have nightmares. and he has this little stuffed animal and has slices in it. Right away, if I see slices in anything, and I worked on a Freddy movie, and I'm having freaky things happening to me in real life, I'd move. I think I'd just be like, all right, let's get out of here. Also, there were way too many things hanging in this house for it to be earthquake safe. They're having they're having these crazy earthquakes. Meanwhile, the kid has this metal airplane hanging over his bed. Take all those things down, put them in the corner, wait to make sure it's safe. In fact, maybe don't hang them up over the bed at all. That would probably be for the best. So we find out her husband dies. She's dealing with her son. She's dealing with, and she sees scratches on her husband's chest. She's like, what is that? Because it was a car wreck. We usually don't show you what's going on under there. We get a funeral, of course, which is kind of a staple in the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, in that we see the actor who played Rod Lane. We see Tuesday Knight, who was in one of she played, I think, in 4 and 5. Or at least 4. I don't think she came back in 5. So it was, or maybe she did, and she just came back to disappear and get killed off. But it was another funeral ceremony. This time, Freddy, there's another earthquake, and Nancy almost falls in the grave, but she doesn't. It's just in the dream. There's another earthquake, and she falls and hits her head, but she falls and has a dream that she falls into the grave, and and her son fell into the grave, and Freddy's trying to take her. So I thought that was kind of cool. Really, my favorite part of this whole movie is, at one point she sees her son watching the movie. She unplugs it. Later, she sees him watching the movie. The TV's still unplugged. I like these little things. I like this little thing where it's like this evil is trying to get out into the world. And at one point, it's trying to, she's like, Daddy's in heaven. And at one point, the kid climbs on this giant jungle gym, which, first of all, the thing opens up. Right away, if that thing opens up, I would sue the town, I'd sue the state, I'd sue the manufacturer of the thing. Nothing. It's like, just don't climb out there, kids. Don't fall out of this, kids. This kid climbed to the top of it. He's reaching up. I don't know how they did it. Maybe they got a little person. That was freaking me out because I have an issue. I have an issue with heights. And especially like the idea of falling is like freaky and like balancing. And I don't know how they did that, but he's like reaching up, and I think he's trying to reach heaven, I think. I don't know. That was kind of cool. But at that moment, she's meeting with John Saxon, her dad, in Nightmare on Elm Street. There's a great moment later where she's kind of in between the dream world, and she's not really meeting with John Saxon. She is, but then John Saxon all of a sudden turns into her dad. He turns into the cop, and all of a sudden they're wearing the clothes from the first movies. I don't remember any of that. I thought that was so well done. I thought it was just a cool meta approach at things. Meanwhile, Nancy's also getting these weird calls. I'm sorry, Heather's also getting these weird calls because she kind of has a stalker. I guess in real life she did have a stalker. And Wes said, "Can we use this? Would you be okay with this?" And she was okay. She was okay with them doing it. So I thought that was kind of cool. We do see that she tries to talk to Robert about this, Robert Englund, and he's like, "Today's not a good day. Dealing with the evil. Today's not a good day. Maybe tomorrow." And turns out he's painting this crazy painting. He's like inspired to paint this evil painting with kind of a Freddy-looking face. And then he goes away. Him and his wife go away, and they just avoid Heather completely altogether. At some point, they end up bringing the little kid. She brings up to the kid to the hospital. I think he had nosebleeds, and he was just having issues. So she brings him to the hospital. The doctor there, which she wasn't great. Now, at some point, I thought, wow, this is really irresponsible, but it was in the dream. So she brings her son there, and I don't know why she thinks she's just going to leave her son. And like 5 minutes with the kid, she's like, the doctor's like, I think he has, like juvenile schizophrenia or something like that. I'm thinking, can you diagnose that quickly? That seems crazy that you would do that. But she says, listen, I won't be far. You're going to rest. Just relax. And just remember, we're not far away. I'm going to come take you home. We're right over the freeway. You probably shouldn't have said that, Heather. Probably shouldn't have said that, because that might lead to the kid thinking, oh, that's how I get home, just over the freeway. Oops, I spoiled things. So they give the kid a pill to fall asleep. This kid's a genius. He doesn't swallow the pill. He doesn't swallow the pill at all. He leaves it, spits it out. And at this point, this is when Heather goes to see Wes, and he kind of gives the whole thing about the containing the evil. And I was like, oh my God, I think I love this. And part of what they were saying was written in the script. It was just like a little like, wow, that's wacky. The fact that happened, like that can't quite be explained, except for the fact that what we're seeing is the movie result of the real thing that happened. I don't know. I loved it. I loved that so much. So Nancy, I keep calling her Nancy. Heather goes home and reads about the schizophrenia, and sometimes what they think is schizophrenia is really just like a lack of sleep and just complete unable to sleep at all. So there's more earthquakes. All of a sudden, real Freddy gets out, and he doesn't look like our Freddy. His face is not all wet. It's kind of dry. It's like it's more like someone said, come up with a Freddy, make a Freddy mask or draw a Freddy, and the glove is on his hand because this is evil. The evil doesn't need to wear a glove. It just wants the blades. How does it make the blades? It just has it grow out of its hand. It wants to look like Freddy. It does its best to look like Freddy. This is what I get out of it. Later, he's wearing a trench coat and a fedora, and it was rad. It was so rad. She goes back to the hospital, and the nanny's there, and the nanny's trying to comfort, and the doctor's getting in the way, and Heather tells the girl, do not let him fall asleep. She's fighting off nurses. One of the nurses is Wes Craven's daughter. She fights them off. Oh, Heather is all sliced up because of Freddy. And they're like, oh, what is this here? And the doctor thinks maybe you did it yourself. Maybe you have schizophrenia. So she's worried about her. She's like, you don't you worry about my kid. I'll worry about my kid. She sits with her kid. He throws up crap on her. I mean, look, I said I wasn't going to go through it, but I'm kind of skimming through it. Here's the moment that I think was pretty awesome. The fact that they give the kid something to fall asleep, and the nanny's like, stay awake, stay awake, stay awake. She's awake. He kind of dozes off to the point where he's in between the dream world, and he sees Freddy behind her, and Freddy kills her just like they killed Tina in the first one, up the wall, kind of like done in the same way. The nurses see her going up the wall, so they're obviously like, okay, something's crazy going on here. The doctor sees it. Everyone sees all this aftermath. I think Heather even sees it, and she's like, oh my God, Freddy is coming. Freddy gets then that's when he tries to escape. This is when he crosses the freeway. This is probably the worst special effects because it's all done in a green screen, and the fingers of Freddy tries to lift the kid up. I don't know why he wants the kid. I think he wants his soul because later he tries to eat the whole child with his, like literally swallow the kid. The kid ends up in dream hell. Nancy follows him through the tunnel in his bed. He left breadcrumbs. There was a whole story about Hansel and Gretel and the breadcrumbs. I know I'm rushing through this, but I'm just trying to find the moments that I think I love. This might be the weakest part of the movie when we're in the dream world, in the kind of the old boiler room. Just because some of the special effects remind me of like the old stuff with the tongue wrapping around the kid and Nancy and the mouth opening up, but they're able to kill Freddy. They just kind of stab him and light him on fire and burn him because he is not Freddy. He is a demon, right? So that's why they're able to do it. And they survive, and she finds she has the script. He's like, that's a story. Will you tell me the story? And she should have said, well, no, I'm not going to tell you this story because this story will probably scare the hell out of you because it's about a killer. But let's grab another story. How about, I don't know, Humpty Dumpty or something like that. But she starts reading the story at the beginning, which is the story of the script. And even when he says, read me the story that is in the script, look, I know I didn't do the movie justice. I'm trying to get back into the swing of Slash. And this is a shorter movie. I think I'm going to start doing shorter ones. I think I'm going to start leaning away from doing the Slashopedia and the facts. Maybe just give you the quick facts and then just talk about the movie. There's only one Nightmare on Elm Street movie left. I know there's another movie with Freddy. I know that. But I'm going to tell you right now, that's not the movie I'm doing after I do the reboot, which I am going to do the reboot. Always got to do the reboot because I feel like the next season it would be good to go through the next season before we get back to Freddy. So that will probably be another year, the way I do it. But hopefully this new, quicker way will allow me to do things better, will allow me to do things quicker, will allow me to get these episodes out to you quicker, and, will just allow me to have more fun with it. Because I think going through the plot step by step, as you can see, I kind of rushed through it. It's not all that fun. Just talking about the way the movie made me feel, talking about the moments that I thought were really cool, and how this movie just, I did not give it the credit it deserves. That's the part that I enjoy. That's the part that's fun. That's kind of the way I do a lot of my other podcasts. I just kind of talk about it quickly, go through it. When I do a thing called Movie Month, which is my main podcast over at Geek Mentality, I do a 30-day movie month every June. I just watch a movie and I talk about it. And that's what I want Slash to be. More like that, more laid back, more relaxed, more just kind of instinctual talking about what I just saw. So I think that's what we're going to see going forward, and especially with season 3 of Slash. But we're not there yet. We still have one more nightmare movie to get through before we move on to season 3. But until then, my friends, you can find me on Blue Sky now at Geek Mentality, on Instagram at Geek Mentality, on Facebook it's Fans Not Experts, on Blue Sky Threads and Mastodon.social it's Geek Mentality, on TikTok it's Geek Mentality Mike, on Facebook and YouTube it's Fans Not Experts, and that's because it's fansnotexperts.com. If you just go to fansnotexperts.com, you will find everything and anything you need about any podcast that I work on. I might make a Blue Sky for this. We're on Twitter at /horror. I might make a Blue Sky for this too. And then I'll just kind of link all that in the show notes. And you can always go to fansnotexperts.com to find this and every episode. And of course, every episode of Slash is on the YouTube channel at Fans Not Experts. And that's it. I'm done. I'm going to try to edit this together and make sense out of it. I apologize because this is kind of a bridge where I went through the plot quickly. And I like wearing this glove. I'm going to miss wearing this glove. Maybe there'll be something else I could wear at some point to kind of, give respect to season 3. But we're not there yet. But we will be there soon, because I really want to pay more attention to this podcast in 2025. Again, Happy New Year, everybody. I will see you soon, sooner than later. I thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. And remember, don't fall asleep. And it's fun to be scared. Booga booga.
Fans Not Experts.